ॐ वाङ् मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्मयेधि वेदस्य मणिस्थः अनेनाधीतेनाहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ ॐ May my speech be accorded with the mind. May my mind be accorded with the speech. O self-effulgent one Brahman, reveal thyself to me. May you both, speech and mind, be the carriers of the highest truth to me. May not all that I have heard depart from me. May I be able to join day and night through this study with Brahman. I shall utter what is verbally true. I shall utter what is mentally true. May that Brahman protect me. May that Brahman protect the teacher. May that protect me. May that protect the teacher. Om. Peace, peace. Peace be unto you all. Good morning. This morning, I am going to speak a very practical and important aspect of our day-to-day spiritual life. How to maintain the equanimity of our mind. How to maintain the balanced mind. You might have remembered in Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, where Sri Krishna is preaching Arjuna the most important verse, and that is the highest teaching in Bhagavad Gita, to maintain the equanimity of mind. In verse number 55 of the 2nd chapter, Arjuna asked, Prajehati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogatan atmanyevatmanatushta sthita pragya staduchyate. Technically, in Sanskrit, it is called Sthita Pragya, man of steady wisdom. Those who have the equanimity of mind, they are called the person of steady wisdom. And in this verse, Arjuna asked, actually, I read the answer of Sri Krishna, but in verse number 54, Arjuna asked, Sthita pragya saka bhasha Samadhistasya Keshava. Keshava is the Arjuna. Keshava is the Sri Krishna. Sthitadhi kim prabhasheta kim asita brajeta kim. O Keshava, O Sri Krishna, what are the signs of a person who has attained to steady wisdom, a deep introspection? How does that person speak? How does that person sit? How does that person walk? How does that person behave in life gently? That is a very specific question. That what is the characteristics of a person of steady wisdom? In other words, what is the characteristics of a person who has equanimity of mind, the balanced mind? Then Sri Krishna replied, very specific. He said, Prajahati jada kaman sarvan parthamanogatan atmanyevat manatushta sthita prajnas taduchyate. O son Partha, Partha is the Arjuna. O son Partha, when all the desires of the heart have been abandoned and the spirit finds joyous satisfaction in itself without dependence on any external factor, then is one spoken of as a person of steady wisdom. Then only one is called, when desires go completely and they are joyful without any dependence on the external factor. If we think about ourselves, we can easily understand that for our happiness, for our joy, we have to depend on the external factor. Whether that is a movie, whether that is a football game, whether that is a picnic party, or whether that is a beautiful feast. Whatever may be the matter, we depend on the external factor to make ourselves joyful. But the man of steady wisdom who has the balanced mind, that person never depends on the external factor to make himself or herself happy and joyful. That is the answer. But how to do that? And then Sri Krishna, in other 20 verses, he explained the other characteristics. They never perturbed, they never give any reaction in the cold, in the hot, in every situation. They can make themselves a fit person. In different group, in different places, they can easily adjust themselves. They are not perturbed, they are not angry, they never become sad. So this is the characteristics of the man of steady wisdom. Now, okay, this is the instruction of Sri Krishna, but the question is how to do that, and what is the cause of the imbalance of mind. There are different causes for the imbalance of mind. I shall refer here only one cause, and that is when our internal urges do not match with the external demand or external situation, then imbalance takes place in our mind. Take the example, you are working in an office, and in the workplace, the environment is totally opposite to your mental setup. Your mind is urging something, but the external situation is completely different. The equilibrium of mind becomes hampered. Secondly, if you fit this example in everywhere, in your school, if you find your classmates are completely different kind of boys, you become sorry, and it is difficult for you to adjust with your friends, the classmates. And then what we do generally? We try our level best to bring the equilibrium of mind, to bring our mind a kind of settled mind. But if we cannot ultimately, we have to take other ways to get another job or to move away from that. So what does it mean? It means our mind, the characteristics of our mind is to come down to the equilibrium state. It is embedded in our mind. Our mind always wants to stay in the equilibrium state. That's why if there is any difficult situation or environment, we try to get into any situation which is very peaceful for our mind. So our mind always tries to bring down in an equilibrium or come down into the equilibrium state. And if we cannot find in that particular place, we move. So our mind is always try to stay in the equilibrium state. This is the very important and positive aspect of our mind. But the reality is, we cannot find always the congenial atmosphere, the favorable atmosphere. So what to do? How to do that? Normally, our mind will go to the equilibrium state, but there is a struggle. We have to suffer. But what is the cause? The connection between our inner urges and the external influence is our ego. Ego is the connecting link between our inner urge and the external influence on us. And ego, it is the characteristics of ego to go into the equilibrium state. Although ego has lots of demerits, but it has, at least I can refer you right now, two positive aspects. One, it always tries to take us into an equilibrium state of mind, number one. Number two, it always tries to protect us, to defend us. How? Take the example. If I criticize you just now, right now, what you will say? Immediately you will defend yourself. No, I did not do that. Somebody did that. So this kind of defensive attitude or protect ourselves is the function of ego. Ego always tries to defend or protect ourselves. With different logic, with different argument, always tries to defend ourselves. So this is the connection of ego. So what we have to do to keep our mind in the equilibrium state, we have to work with ego. It is a kind of, a staircase. The lower steps are called ego, and higher steps is mostly unknown to us, but we can come to know from the scripture that the higher steps, they are connected with ourself. So ego, what is ego? Our life is a kind of flow of changes. Our body changes, our mind changes, every cell of our body changes. So it is a kind of flow, continuous flow. Life means a continuous flow of matter, flow of psyche, flow of energy. It is a continuous flow, and on that flow we find a reflection of ourself, and that reflection is ego. So ego is the reflection of ourselves on the continuous flow of changes, which is called life. So the structure, ego structure, is this: our belief, our faith, our relation, everything is centering like I, the consciousness, and connected with ego. Take the example. I am an individual, but at the same time, I am a friend, I am a father, I am a son, I am a citizen, and I am a colleague. So, I am the individual, but I am playing different role. All I am playing, and how an individual is connected with all the roles through ego. So sometimes my ego is connected with father ego, sometimes my ego is connected with son ego, sometimes my ego is connected with friend ego. So our ego is connected, and a role play. We play a certain role and we suffer. So when father is suffering, the son is fine. Son has no problem. Or colleague has no problem. Or citizen has no problem. So our ego is, when the spirit is one, the individual is one, but our role play are different. And this role play, who is doing? Ego. Ego is connected with the father. Father ego is working. Friend ego is working. Son ego is working. So these egos are working. So this is called ego system. But so what we have to do? We have to do the transformation of ego consciousness. We have to transform ego consciousness. Ego is powered by ourself, and ego is working accordingly. So we have to change the ego consciousness, transform our ego consciousness. How to bring our mind? So when father is in difficult situation, we have to shift our ego consciousness to another. Another is not suffering. Or the scripture says that take the individual. Because you are the individual, you are unmoved. As for example, you see, in a theater, you are acting. You are an individual and you are playing double role. You are performing the role of king, and in the last stage, you are performing the role of a beggar. You change your dress, you change your makeup, and then you are performing the role of a beggar. The individual is same. You are neither beggar, you are nor a king, but you are playing. You are what you are. So exactly, we are playing different role. So that's why it is said that to bring our mind in the equilibrium state, we have to transform our ego consciousness. It does not mean if we transform our ego consciousness and our mind, we bring our mind in the very equanimity or equilibrium state, that doesn't mean our problem will go. Problem will come. But if we can transform our ego consciousness, we can see, we can judge, we can analyze our problem in a matured way, so that we will not be perturbed. We will not be in a sad state of mind. So problem will be there. If we think our all problem will go, it is a kind of utopian idea. There will be problem. As there is joy, suffering will also be there. But the thing is that we have to transform our ego consciousness in such a way so that we can face the problem of life in a better way. That is the solution, to keep our mind in the equilibrium state. How to do that? How to transform our ego consciousness? That is the important point. There are various ways. But I shall, because of time, and it is also the philosophy, and definitely everything what I shall refer to you, or what we, generally the monk of the Ramakrishna order, say, everything on the basis of Indian scripture, either from yoga, Sankhya, or from Vedanta, from Upanishad, from Tantra. So everything based on the Indian scripture. Now, how can we transform our ego consciousness? Because that is the link between the inner urges and the external influence. I would refer you two techniques. One is called the principle of Khyati. It is a Sanskrit term, Khyati. Another is the principle of Yatha Kratu. This is also Sanskrit term. Khyati means knowledge, jnana. Everything, what we see, what we listen to, what we taste, everything comes to us as a knowledge. We understand that. What is it? So, everything comes to us as a knowledge. And knowledge never comes without vritti. Vritti means the modification of mind. So, what happens actually? When we see or when we come across in any way, we have our five senses, and our relation with the external world is through these five senses. Our eyes, our nose, smell it, our ear, our skin, and our tongue. These are the five senses through which we evaluate, we understand the external world. We do not have any other instrument or organ by which we can understand the external world. These are and obviously they call the sixth one is the mind. Obviously, the mind also, but mainly the five. Now, when we are connected with these five and everything is going on with this, we understand we are connected with these five senses with some external things, whether we see it, whether we listen to it, whether we smell it, or whether we taste it, or whether we touch it. Then what happened? Our mind takes the shape of that object. And the light of self is falling on that, and we have the knowledge. As for example, take the example. At night, in a flowing river, a paper ball is tossing, paper ball is flowing. And you are on the bank and just focusing with a torch. What you will see? You will see a light circle. Other side is totally dark. You can see a light circle, and from there you can see the paper ball is tossing on the flowing water. So you have some knowledge like that. Exactly in the mind, inside, that is the external. Inside in our mind, when we come across through our senses any external object, our mind takes the shape of that object. And the self is throwing just like a torchlight, that kind of light, and we will have the knowledge. This is the process of knowledge, and it is called khyati, vritti jnana. And this modification, mind is taking the shape of that object. So modification of mind. So modification of mind is called vritti. And from vritti, the knowledge we are getting, vritti jnana, is called khyati. Khyati is called vritti jnana. And it is said especially we can find it in Sankhya philosophy. So in Sankhya philosophy, and do you know, by the way, Sankhya philosophy, the founder of Sankhya philosophy was Kapila. And he was the first person in this universe, under the sky, who divided the spirit, the self, and the non-self, the consciousness and which is not consciousness. He was the first person who said to the world that there are two things, consciousness and non-consciousness. However, this modification of mind is called vritti jnana. This vritti jnana is called khyati. And in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, it is said, a person, great person, these are the outstanding scholars. His name was Panchashikha. This Panchashikha, ancient authority of yoga, Patanjali Yoga, says the means of seeing is only one, and that is khyati. In Sanskrit, ekomevo darshanam khyatirevo darshanam. So when there is a darshanam, knowledge, only one, and that is through khyati. Khyati means vritti jnana. So without vritti jnana, we do not have any knowledge. Now, we have the knowledge of God, we have the knowledge of everything, and everything comes through this vritti jnana. Even the knowledge of God, those who are realizing the Brahman, that is also called Brahmakara vritti. Without vritti, you do not have that Brahma jnana. So, what is the connection with transformation of ego then? The meditation. The solution is meditation. And what we are doing in meditation? We are trying to transform our consciousness. And what is the way of transforming our consciousness? Is jnana. And from where this jnana is coming? From vritti jnana. So khyati, from khyati, this is coming. So what is happening actually when this khyati is coming? Actually, the same thing was told by Aristotle, and afterwards in Christianity we find in the Thomas Aquinas, he also implemented that principle into Catholic community, Catholic psychology. The principle Aristotle gave is that the knowledge comes from outside first, which is he called the species impressia, which in the mind change into ideas, is called species expressia. So that was the principle of Aristotle. So our mind changes the ideas. And actually Saint Thomas Aquinas applied this principle. He said, definitely, we have so many things, so many knowledge from outside, but when it comes, actually it comes from mind, this specific impressia produced in the mind by God. So God is giving this kind of thought. From where thought is coming? Aristotle did not say anything from where thought is coming. He only said the thought comes from outside and mind changes this. Exactly a kind of this thing, if you see in meditation, we are changing, transforming our ego consciousness. What happens? Our ego is connected, say, with father ego, and father ego is in trouble. So we have to transform our ego consciousness to a different type or in a higher state. The fun is this: when we are eating, our ego is connected with eating. When we are playing, our ego is connected with playing. When we are sleeping, our ego is connected with sleeping. But the other things are completely unperturbed. If we can transform our ego to the different, which is unperturbed, connect with our consciousness with that, then we are done. So when our consciousness is the life, consciousness is like electricity. When this electricity is connected with these chandeliers, it will shine. When it will connected with that chandeliers, that will shine. So when it will connected with all the chandeliers will shine. But when it is connected with that, but not the other one, then other one will not shine. Which one is connected, that will shine. So if we can connect ourselves with the shining, as for example, in dream, you are in trouble. Sometimes some people see, in dream, a tiger is chasing. And he or she wants to run, but cannot. Falling down. And when tiger catches him or her, he or she gets up. So many people I heard that. So in dream, you are in trouble. But in the awakened state, are you in trouble? No. But in the awakened state, you are trouble. But in the dream state, you are seeing something else. So the same person, in different state, we have different experience. Similarly, in awakened state also, when our consciousness is connecting food, and if we cannot get food, we will suffer. But if our consciousness is connected with painting or reading or singing, if we cannot paint, if we cannot sing, we will suffer. So transformation of consciousness we have to do. And how to do? Just plug, it is just like a plug, It is plugged with this kind of thing, and we are doing these things. We are connected with the external world. Unplug that and plug with the intellectual thing, we will start intellectual thing. Unplug that, plug with the aesthetics thing, we shall start aesthetic thing. Unplug that, plug it with the energetic thing, we will start work. Forget our food. Forget the workaholic people. They don't care about food. They don't care about their dresses. They don't care anything. But if you deprive them from working, they will be sad. So our consciousness, and all these are ecosystem. So when plug with one particular ego, that will function. Other ego will clear. So when we are in problem, just unplug that consciousness and plug with the another ego. This is the transformation of consciousness. And how can we do that? We do not have any plug. By meditation. By meditation, we have to elevate our mind and knowledge. The suffering also coming to us as a knowledge. Khyati. So change the vrittis and transform the consciousness. But how can we change the vrittis? Then the second theory is coming, yatha kratu. Kratu means will. In Indian philosophy, will has a very special function. What is the function of will? You are thinking every day that, okay, I shall do this, I shall do that, I have to go there. But what you are thinking, how many things you do? Probably one or two. And what is the mechanism behind that? Will. So will is just like a rope. If you hook some kind of thought with the will, you will do that. So will is a hook which specifies your determination. There are number of thoughts. So this is the function of will. Now, when you are with father ego, so you are hooked by the will with the father ego. Just unplug means take the hook out from that consciousness and hook it to the other consciousness, higher consciousness. Another example of will. You are meditating, and say you are meditating or concentrating on certain object. Okay? Either a dot or some image or Lord Shiva or Lord Christ or whatever you are, or any thought you are thinking. And you will find, surprisingly, that when you are try to meditate, your object of meditation is flying away. And you are applying your mental force to bring your object again. And this is a kind of tug war going on. Trying to bring it, and it is going away. Trying to bring it, it is going away. And your meditation completed. So, what you are applying to bring your object of meditation under focus, that is the will, the hook. So, transformation of ego, the function of will is very important. And we find it in Chandogya Upanishad, Yatha Kratu. One verse is there. So Kratu means will. So the will, the function of will, that is Chandogya Upanishad, chapter 3, 14, verse number 1. Yatha kalu kratu maya purusho yatha kratu rasmi bhilloke purusho bhavati tatheta pretya bhavati sa kratu kurvita. So this is the verse. So kratu is will. So if will, so what is the total thing we have to do to transform our consciousness? By meditating, we can transform our consciousness. The transformation of ego consciousness. Our original consciousness cannot be transformed, Self is always eternal. It cannot be touched. So only the ego consciousness, the shadow of it. And we cannot see ourselves. We cannot see our face. Can we? Never and ever. except there is a mirror, reflection. We can see the reflection of our face, but not the face. We cannot see our face, never and ever. We cannot see our eyes, never and ever. We can see the reflection of our eyes. And this is the reflection of the self is ego. So we can understand the ego. So that's why the process is through meditation. The first vritti jnana, we can change the vritti jnana and connect through will a different level. What are the different levels? In Indian philosophy, there are different levels. You know, the yoga people in Patanjali Yoga Sutra or in Tantra, you can find there are chakras, you know, the Muladhara, Shadhisthana, Anahata. These are the 7 chakras are there. Then in Upanishad we find there are 5 seeds are there. Annamaya kosha, the food and merrymaking, and then energy level, I have mentioned already, energy level, then the aesthetic level, then the intelligent level, intelligence and the buddhi called discriminative level, and then the highest level, Anandamaya, the super joyful level. So that is different levels. In different places we find in Tantra, in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, in Upanishad, we find they explain different levels. They talk about different levels. So these are the levels I have already mentioned, that it is a kind of staircase. The lower stairs are called ego, which is connected with the lower levels I have mentioned, 5 seeds or chakras. So they are connected with the lower levels, but the higher level is the self. So if we go higher and higher and higher and higher, this is the transformation of ego consciousness. We can try to go higher and higher. The worst level is the eating, drinking and merrymaking. They do not think beyond that. Little bit higher is the workaholic people, you know. They work, they like work. Then the higher level is the aesthetic level. Poet, they write poem. They do not care about eating, drinking, merrymaking or working. Then the higher level is the scientist. Those who are intelligent. They don't care about food or blah, 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 anything. They want research to do something, some innovative. So these are the different levels. And the final level, as for, you know, just like Abraham Maslow, the hierarchy need, the ladder of hierarchy need, exactly in the same way, almost. So in this way, we have to transform our ego consciousness. And then we can bring our mind in the equilibrium state. But the lower 3 levels, the food, energy and mind, these cannot stay isolated way. They always connect with the external things. If you draw a picture, if you write a poem, you have to take ingredients, inputs from the external world. If you have to eat drink and merrymaking, then you have to go out, reach out to the external world. If you have to work, you have to go out with the external world. So the lower three levels, they cannot stay independently. But the scientists, the innovative people, they try to innovate something. Even the artist, those who are innovating something, they are definitely independent people. So the external world cannot give us permanent happiness. Why? Because external world is impermanent and we do not have any control over the external world. Do we have? We do not have any control over the external world. Right now we are sitting here. The next moment what is going to happen, we don't know. This building may crash down. We don't know. Nothing is there in our hand in the external world. And we cannot control anybody else outside. We can control only ourselves. So if we try to hold the external world, whatever, whoever may be, we cannot. It will go away from us. We cannot. So, only the higher things we can. So, a very beautiful book is there. I always refer to this book. The have or to be. So these are all having mode. If you have the having mode, there is a possibility to miss it. If there is being mode, then you can keep those things. You are. There is no any risk to miss it. So, what is the conclusion of transformation of ego consciousness? The conclusion is this: by meditation and through the help of our will, we must have the knowledge, understanding of higher level, not the below three levels. If we can change it, as for example, I referred you, unplug your father ego and plug it your son ego. Unplug your son ego and plug it with citizen ego. These are all lower level. If you plug with all these things, you have to face again suffering there. So you have to go beyond that. It is not one day job, but at some point we have to push the ball to roll. So, and this way we can keep ourselves equanimity of mind. Obviously, all the factors we have to consider. There are different factors. The non-permanency of this external world, the temporariness of the external world, we have to understand that. And what is the definition of non-permanency, the temporary things? the things, these are the very fundamental definition. Please try to remember this. If a thing starts, that has to be stopped at one time. If a thing starts, it will stop one day. That is impermanent. Which has no beginning, that has no end. Which has a beginning, that has end. That is impermanent. What is the thing which is beginningless? Only one thing in this universe, according to Indian philosophy, the spirit, self, the Atman. And everything begins. I was born, this body was born, has a beginning. It must have an end. This table was made, had a beginning. It must have end. Which has a beginning must have end. Any question? Quick question. If you have any question on this? Yes, please.
This outside world, is there a wisdom being communicated back to us through that? Through Sharada Devi?
Yes, definitely. This world, this outside external world definitely gives us lesson. We have to learn that. And all this, what I have explained, is the outcome of the learning from the external world. So, take the example of the equilibrium of mind. We always try to get help from outside to keep our mind in the equilibrium state. We do not first start a meditation. We try to, when we are perturbed, we are try to get help from outside to keep ourselves in a balanced state. But ultimately, we find that no help we can get from the external world. And then people turn inward. In ancient time, they started with the external world. But ultimately they found that external world cannot give you permanent peace. It is a chocolate. When you eat it, you can enjoy. But when it is finished, you have the suffering. External world, impermanent thing, cannot give us permanent joy. Is it possible? Can any impermanent thing give us permanent thing? Impossible.
Thank you, Swami.
So the having mode, no having mode can give you the being thing. Try to accumulate being thing, what you are. That will stay forever. Thank you. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkham Apnuat Sarvastarotu Durgani Sarvo Bhadrani Pashyatu Sarva Sadbuddhimapnotu Sarva sarvatra nandatu durjana sajjano bhuyat sajjana shantimapnuat shantyam bandhebhyo muktaschanyan vimochayet. May all be happy. May all enjoy good health. May all see happy events. May all be freed from miseries. May all be freed from dangers. May all realize what is good. May all be actuated by noble thoughts. May all rejoice everywhere. May the wicked become virtuous. May the virtuous attain tranquility. May the tranquil be free from bondages. May the free make others free. May the Supreme Spirit, the presiding deity of all sacred activities, be satisfied. For he being pleased, the whole universe feels satisfied. Om, peace, peace. Peace be unto you all. I have a couple of announcements. Next Sunday, we do not have any morning class. We have Durga Puja, the worship of Mother Durga at 3 p.m. here in this hall. I request you all, please join with your family, friends and acquaintances. Then the following Sunday, next Sunday is 2nd October. The following Sunday is 9th October. We have a special lecture here. We have 2 guest lecturers and they are Matajis, nuns. They are coming from India, from Sharda Mission. One is Bhavani Prana and another is Divyananda Prana. Perhaps you have heard, those who are searching YouTube, this Divyananda Prana is very popular in YouTube. So both of them will deliver talk here on 9th. Perhaps those who are receiving our bulletin, they have seen the flyer. So one will speak on the spiritual Sarada Devi, the spiritual ideal, and the other one, the Divyananda Prana, will speak on the practical aspect of spiritual sadhana, and which will be followed by question answer. So please join both of the days with your family, friends and acquaintances. And as usual, tea and coffee will be served in the Saradananda Hall, which will be followed by Prasad Lanchan. Thank you.